What if what you've been calling confusion is actually a divine invitation? What if the silence you've felt in your soul isn't abandonment, but alignment waiting to happen? What if your restlessness is not a flaw, but a signal that your purpose is calling louder than your fear? Every person hits a point in life when they look around and ask, is this all there is? It's not just a fleeting thought. It's a deep ache, a soul-level awareness that we weren't made for mediocrity, that our lives were never meant to be reduced to checklists, paychecks, and highlight reels, that behind the monotony of day-to-day routines, there is a divine blueprint waiting to be discovered. And here's the truth. If you're asking those questions, you're already on the right path. Because purpose doesn't always begin with a vision. It often begins with a question. That question is sacred. It means your heart is awakening. It means God is stirring something inside you. And that stirring is not a coincidence, it's a calling. See, God didn't mass-produce humanity. He handcrafted you, with intention, with care, with purpose. Long before the world gave you labels, He gave you a mission, a unique imprint that only you carry. But let's be honest, most of us don't feel like we're walking in that mission. We feel stuck, disconnected, behind, too ordinary to be extraordinary. We scroll through the curated lives of others and assume we missed our moment. But here's what no one tells you. Your place in God's plan isn't found by chasing success. It's found by surrendering control. It's found by stopping long enough to hear the whisper of heaven saying, "You're not behind, you're right on time." That whisper changes everything. Because in that moment, you realize purpose isn't something you achieve, it's something you receive. It's not about striving harder, it's about surrendering deeper. Surrendering your plans, your timelines, your expectations, and saying, God, I may not see the whole picture, but I trust that you do. Lead me. That's where purpose starts, not in performance, but in presence. In the quiet resolve to follow God, even when the road isn't clear. In the daily decision to believe that your life, exactly as it is already laced with potential. You don't have to be perfect to be purposeful. You don't need a title to make an impact. You don't need to know the end of the story to take the next step. All God asks is your yes, your willing heart, your open hands. And when you offer those, He begins to move. He takes your questions and turns them into clarity. He takes your confusion and weaves it into calling. He takes your ordinary life and breathes supernatural meaning into it. You start to see the breadcrumbs He's been leaving all along. The passions that won't die, the burdens you can't shake, the talents you thought were random, but are actually deeply intentional. Suddenly your life begins to align, not all at once, but moment by moment, prayer by prayer, step by surrendered step. And you realize that purpose isn't waiting at the end of the road. It's found in walking the road with God. It's found in how you show up today, with faith, with courage, with intention. Because that's how you find your place in God's plan. You listen, you trust, you walk. And you remember, the God who called you is faithful to complete the work He began in you. No detour is too far, no delay is too long, no doubt is too deep. He is with you, He is for you, and He is writing a story through your life that's more beautiful than you can imagine. So breathe. You haven't missed it. You're not too late. Your place in God's plan? It's real. It's active. And it's unfolding with every yes you give. Just keep walking. Finding your place in God's plan isn't about waiting for a lightning bolt. It's about waking up to what's already been placed inside you. It's easy to think your calling is somewhere out there, attached to a position, a title, or a major life moment. But the truth is, your purpose begins right where you are. And it begins when you start paying attention. Because when you live distracted, you miss divine appointments. When your days are filled with noise, God's whispers feel distant. When you chase validation, you forget that you're already chosen. And that's where so many of us find ourselves, moving fast but going nowhere. Achieving more but feeling less fulfilled. Saying yes to everything but the one thing God's actually called us to. But here's the shift. Clarity doesn't come through hustle. It comes through stillness. It comes when you slow down and say, God, show me what you're doing and how I can be part of it. That question is dangerous, in the best way. Because once you ask it, God will begin to stir your spirit. He'll reveal passions you buried, people you're called to, places He's positioning you for. And he'll do it in the ordinary, in the everyday. Because purpose isn't always about platforms, it's about presence. It's about how you show up in your own life. How you love when it's inconvenient. How you lead when no one's watching. How you stay faithful when no one's applauding. That's what God blesses, not performance, not perfection, but presence. When you're present with him, he starts to open your eyes to what's been there all along. The gifts you overlooked, the moments you discounted, the doors you didn't even realize were open. And suddenly, your life begins to align, not by striving, but by surrender. Because alignment doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less of what isn't yours. It comes from releasing expectations you were never meant to carry and embracing the unique story God is writing through your life. That story will look different than others, and it's supposed to. Comparison will kill your calling quicker than failure ever could. Because you can't walk confidently in your assignment while watching someone else run in theirs. You weren't created to copy. You were created to contribute. To bring something that only you carry. And when you own that, everything changes. You stop competing. You start creating. You stop striving. You start surrendering. You stop doubting. You start declaring, God, I trust you with this life. Even if I don't see the full picture yet, I'll take the next step. That step might be small. It might look like saying no to something that's good so you can say yes to something that's God. It might be reaching out to someone who's been on your heart. It might be starting something new or finishing what you started long ago. Whatever it is, God is in it, and he'll meet you in the movement. Because faith isn't passive, it's active. It says, I don't have to see the whole staircase, I just have to take the next step. And when you do, your confidence grows. Not because of your ability, but because of your alignment. You're walking with God, trusting his timing, listening for his voice. And in that rhythm, you find peace. Not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer carrying it alone. You know who's holding the plan, and you know who holds you. That's how you find your place in God's story. Not by figuring it all out, but by following him day by day, step by step, with a heart that's willing to say yes. There's a quiet revolution that happens when you realize you don't have to earn your place in God's plan. You already have one. You don't have to beg for favor, prove your worth, or outperform your past. You simply have to say, I'm here, Lord. Use me. That willingness cracks open the door to purpose and lets the light flood in. But let's be honest, most of us don't feel qualified. We disqualify ourselves with thoughts like, I've made too many mistakes. I don't have the right background. I'm not as gifted as them. But God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for participation. He's looking for hearts that are available, not impressive. He's not measuring your resume, he's looking at your readiness. All throughout Scripture, God used people who were deeply flawed but fully surrendered. Moses stuttered. David failed. Paul had a past. Yet they all found their place in God's redemptive plan. Not because they were perfect, but because they said yes. That same invitation is extended to you today. God isn't surprised by your limitations. He factored them in. In fact, he often uses them to display his strength, because when you succeed despite your weakness, the glory goes to him, not you. And that's the point. Your life is meant to point people to something greater. So what does it practically look like to step into your place in God's plan? It starts with one word: agreement. You have to agree with God's truth over your life, even when it feels uncomfortable. You have to agree that you're chosen, even when you feel forgotten. You have to agree that your story matters, even when it feels messy, and that agreement shifts everything. It shifts how you see yourself, how you steward your time, how you make decisions. You stop asking, what do I want to do with my life? And start asking, God, what have you placed me here to do? That's where divine confidence is born. Not in self-esteem, but in God-esteem. You stop walking with insecurity and start walking with identity. You're not just wandering, you're walking in purpose. That purpose might not always be glamorous. It might not get you applause, but it will give you peace. Because when you're aligned with heaven's assignment, your life bears fruit that lasts. Love that's patient, joy that doesn't need circumstances, peace that passes understanding. That's the kind of impact our world desperately needs. And it starts with you showing up in your life fully awake, fully present, and fully available. No more hiding, no more waiting, no more delaying obedience until you feel ready. Ready is a myth. Willingness is what God is looking for. He'll equip you as you move. He'll open doors as you walk. He'll give strength as you surrender. So take inventory today. What burdens won't let you go? What injustices break your heart? What dreams keep returning, no matter how many times you try to bury them? These aren't distractions, they're directions. God often speaks through what moves you most. So pay attention. Your tears are not random. Your passion is not a coincidence. Your wiring is intentional. And it all fits into God's plan. You don't have to figure out every detail. You just need to trust that the God who designed your life also knows how to direct it. And He will. Step by step, season by season. Your only job, keep saying yes. That yes doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't have to come with perfect clarity or fearless faith. It just needs to be real. A genuine whisper from your heart that says, God, I don't know exactly what this looks like, but I'm willing. That kind of surrender opens the door for divine partnership. That's when God begins to take your natural and add His supernatural. You begin to see how every part of your journey was preparation. The detours weren't wasted. The heartbreaks weren't pointless. The seasons that felt silent were sacred. God was working in you before He ever worked through you. That's how He moves. He's not just interested in what you'll do for Him. He's deeply invested in who you're becoming with Him. And purpose always begins with identity. Before Jesus began His public ministry, before He performed a single miracle, He heard the voice of His Father say, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Not because of what He had done, but because of who He was. The same is true for you. You don't step into purpose to prove your worth. You live from purpose because you already have it. You're not working for approval, you're working from love. And that shift changes how you approach everything. You start saying no to things that don't align with your assignment. You stop chasing people who were never meant to affirm you. You get clear on your values, your time, your boundaries. Because when you know you're called, you start living like it. You begin to value the small moments, the ones that no one sees but God notices. You begin to celebrate the quiet victories, the ones that don't trend but transform. You begin to live for the well done of heaven, not the applause of earth. And that kind of life is rare. But it's what our generation is starving for. People who aren't chasing clout, but carrying conviction. People who know that purpose isn't found in fame, but in faithfulness. People who aren't trying to be impressive, they're committed to being intentional. That's what it looks like to walk in your place in God's plan. It's steady. It's surrendered. It's significant. Even if it's unseen. Because here's the truth. The most meaningful parts of your life won't always be the most visible, but they'll be the most impactful. The child you raise with patience. The team you lead with integrity. The words you speak when someone's ready to give up. The prayer you whisper when no one else hears. These are the moments that heaven sees. These are the moments that shift legacies. And these are the moments that mark a life of purpose. So if you've been wondering whether your life really matters, hear this. It does. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're not just trying to survive the week. You are positioned on purpose for such a time as this. And your obedience, even in the small, is shaking something in the spirit. So don't stop now. Don't shrink back. Don't let fear define your future. Let faith lead you forward. Keep saying yes. Keep showing up. Keep trusting that the one who called you will also equip you. Because He's not just after your moments, He's after your heart. And when your heart is aligned with His, everything changes. Not just for you, but for everyone around you. Your life becomes a light, a signpost that says there's more, and it's found in Him. And that light, it's exactly what the world needs. When your life becomes that kind of light, you start to realize you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. Not in ego, but in example. Not to be praised, but to point. Not to draw attention to yourself, but to direct others toward the one who lit the fire in you. That's what makes walking in your place in God's plan so powerful. It's not just about personal fulfillment, it's about generational impact. Your alignment influences others. Your yes unlocks freedom, not just for you, but for those watching you. Because people are watching, even if they never say it out loud. They're watching how you handle setbacks, how you speak when you're frustrated, how you respond when it would be easier to walk away. And when they see you stay, when they see you choose integrity over image, calling over comfort, faith over fear, they're not just inspired, they're impacted. Because authentic purpose is contagious. It gives permission for others to stop pretending and start pursuing the life they were created for too. But here's the part no one tells you. Walking in your calling will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you convenience. It will cost you some relationships that only made sense in the version of your life where you were hiding who you really are. But what you gain in return is infinitely more valuable. You gain clarity. You gain confidence. You gain a deeper connection to God and a richer sense of self. You begin to wake up with anticipation instead of anxiety. You start going to sleep with peace instead of pressure. Because you're not performing anymore, you're living in purpose. And when that becomes your new normal, your environment changes too. You start attracting the right people. Doors open that you couldn't have forced. Resources show up that align with the vision God placed in your heart. And suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Not because you're in control, but because you're in alignment. That's the difference between striving and surrender. Striving drains you, surrender positions you, and the world can feel the difference. There's a peace that surrounds someone who knows they're in the center of God's will. It doesn't mean life is easy, but it means your spirit is steady. Because you're no longer tossed by trends, opinions, or fear. You're anchored in truth. And that truth gives you boldness, the kind that says, I may not be the most qualified, but I'm the most called for this specific assignment. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It can't be bought. It can only come from God. So if you've been second-guessing your path, doubting your worth, or wondering whether your life really matters, this is your reminder. It does. You do. You are not a mistake. You're not an afterthought. You are divinely positioned in this moment for a reason. And every step you take in obedience strengthens the foundation you're building, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to your destiny. So keep walking, keep listening, keep leaning into that inner whisper that says, this is the way, walk in it. Because your place in God's plan isn't waiting at the finish line. It's being built right now. With every choice you make to trust Him. With every moment you show up fully. With every yes that costs you something. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be. And becoming that person, fully aligned, fully awake, fully surrendered, isn't a one-time revelation. It's a daily return. A rhythm of remembrance that your value isn't in what you do, but in whose you are. That every breath you take is filled with potential, not pressure. That your identity is secure, not based on your performance, but rooted in the unshakable truth of God's love. So now you've come this far. You've walked through doubt, laid down distraction, faced the weight of expectation, and you're still here. Still listening. Still hungry for more than just a life of survival. You want substance, meaning, impact. And the good news is that hunger is holy. It's the signal that your spirit is aligned with heaven. It's the whisper of purpose that won't let you settle. It's God reminding you that you were never created to blend in, burn out, or break under the weight of a life He never asked you to carry. You were created for more clarity, more peace, more power. Not the kind that comes from chasing influence, but the kind that flows from intimacy with your Creator. That's what makes your calling unshakable. It's not built on shifting circumstances, but on an eternal covenant. And every time you return to that truth, when you pause to pray instead of panic, when you choose presence over performance, you realign your life with purpose. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. It's about showing up even when you feel unsure. It's about trusting that your steps are ordered even when they feel small. Because they are ordered. Because the God who called you is faithful to finish what He started. So don't let fear hold you back. Don't let comparison mute your voice. Don't let past failures disqualify you from a future God has already redeemed. You're still becoming, still growing, still being shaped into someone who reflects the glory of the one who made you. And the best part? This journey isn't just about you. Your obedience unlocks freedom for others. Your courage gives others permission to rise. Your alignment creates space for God to move, not only in your story, but through it. This is legacy, not just in what you leave behind, but in how you live now, with intention, with integrity, with deep-rooted joy that doesn't depend on outcomes. So take a deep breath, look at where you are, and know this: you haven't missed your place in God's plan. You're living it. Every yes you've whispered, every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've cried, it all matters. It's all woven into something sacred, something eternal, and it's still unfolding. So don't stop now. Don't shrink back. Don't silence your voice or second-guess your assignment. You're not lost. You're not late. You're right where you're meant to be. And if you stay rooted, stay surrendered, stay awake, God will take everything you've walked through and turn it into something glorious. So subscribe. Stay with us. Here at Think Fresh Daily, we're building a space for people like you, people who are done with surface level and ready for spirit-led. This is just the beginning. Let's keep walking in purpose together.